As we go through life, people come and people go, but there are always those few that really stick with you through the thick and the thin, those that we never want to lose. We all know that this life has to come to an end, but we prefer to live in denial that this will never actually be, that we will never lose those that we love. Like it or not, that day has come for one of my dearest friends. Dustin was to me one of those people that I never wanted to lose. I wanted to know him my whole life. This was my plan, but not God's. I still remember the day that I met Dustin. It was nearly 15 years ago. His charm and his kindness and his wonderful spirit and zeal for life was immediately apparent to me. His spirit best showed in his loud, boisterous laughter, often louder than anyone else in the movie theater, much to our embarrassment. The mischievous giggle that would come just before you knew that something bad was about to happen is unforgettable. Dustin was one of those that was simply impossible to be sad, mad, or down around. His very presence lifted you up. So many experiences with great stories, I don't even know where to begin. Football games, road trips, and just everyday life, there was never a dull moment. I only wish that I knew my time with him was limited, more limited than I could ever have guessed. Dustin and I attended high school together for 3 years, and unlike most that you go to high school with, we stayed very close after as well. Dustin was there for the birth of my first 2 children and would have been there for the third if it weren't for chemo that kept him at home. At his going away party just last week, he got to hold my third born as long as his strength could allow. His softness and tenderness as we looked at her was simply humbling. He wasn't well known for his tenderness, as Dustin was quite the clown and never took anything seriously. But still, if you looked when he didn't know you were watching, it was there. It was there when he held his son for the first time, and it was there when it needed to be. Dustin loved with such a strength that it was impossible to waver, but he showed it in odd ways sometimes. Often the best way to know if Dustin cared was if he took the time to plan and execute a really good prank. I may or may not have been the recipient of one or more of those. Some of those that needed less planning were just as funny. The old pitcher of ice-cold water over the shower, or calling my name to get my attention only to moon me when I looked, as well as other prankster-type tactics. They always bring a smile to me when I think of them. Dustin was a wonderful father to his 2 sons, Blake and Eric. It saddens me to know that they will never get to know their dad as they grow and learn to become men. To Heidi, I have to hand it to you. I just don't know how you lived with the dumb jokes day in and day out. Your life must have been filled with laughter and joy, and frustration too, I bet, as we all have done the old eye rolling to some of his more dumb jokes. Blake and Eric, I want you to know how much I loved your dad and what a wonderful man he was. I hope that even a small piece of him still lives on in you, and that you will be able to find that in yourself someday. As to all of you in this room, our loss is great, but our lives as we live on are far greater because we knew him. We all have memories of Dustin and what he was to us to look back on and smile. I know that as he looks down upon us, he wants us to use those memories in times that we need them the most. This is one of those times. Remember him and smile or chuckle lightly, as this may happen as well. I know that my time with him was too short, but I would never give up the time that I did have with him. I will forever be grateful for it as well. Dustin, I love you and I will always miss you, but I will always remember that you live on in all of us.